All right, this meeting and all other meetings of this council are open to the public. Proper notice has been posted and given to the press in accordance with Wisconsin statutes, so the citizenry may be aware of the time, place, and agenda of this meeting. We'll start with a roll call.
Rasmussen,
Here,
Appleby,
Here.
Gunderson.
Here.
our second item on the agenda is to approve the minutes from the December 1st, 2014 meeting. I have a motion on that.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from December 1st, 2014 meeting.
I'll second it.
Motion and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Citizen appearances? We don't appear to have any. The next item, discussion and possible action on the city logo clothing. We'll hand it over to Patrick.
Yep, I do have a handout for you, and we talked about in the last couple of months going with the logo or the general logo that was, that's that first copy that you have, that's from the last meeting. Talked about with Dockside Designs, that's the company that you had wanted an idea on polo shirts with a general idea being, you know, I guess roughly the school colors, which is red, black, a white. The idea would be these shirts that you have are the reds and the blacks. The logo could be either in white or black embroidered onto these shirts. They have the women's, they have the men's. The top shirt, so if we're looking at the front page, we've got L547, K547 is for the guys and the ladies. That's more of a breathable, I don't want to call it like a, I'm trying to think of what the word is on that.
It's that wicking.
Yeah, there you go.
Wicking
That's
material.
exactly what it is. But on the wicking shirts, you have on the red, it's not a solid red or solid black, it's red with like a black sleeve,
Right.
black with a little bit of a gray piping or striping on the sleeve. The lower is more of, I guess, like a shirt like I've got, more of a fabric. And it's $3 less for the sizes up to XL, $21 for the K and the L500s. The XXL's $24, $27 for triple X. On the above shirt, $27 or $30. The K500, maybe I got that mixed up here. When you look in the back, thank you, Keith. Have a good night.
Have a good week.
See
Hi,
you.
Keith.
You can look back through the specific styles that they have. And actually, I will tell you, the way that this was explained to me is they both have a label called Silk Touch. I would imagine that means that they're both that feel. But it does show the backup information you have. It's each, the men's and the women's, and it shows you all the available colors that they have. But again, on the front, you have pictures of what we specifically asked of them was a black and a red.
I can attest to the Port Authority brand. We do that where I work too. We purchase those type of shirts and we have them embroidered as well.
Okay.
And
Which ones? Yeah.
just the regular twill, like
Just-
the regular polo, not the silkier wicking breathable type shirts.
Yeah, I like those right there.
It's your basic polo shirt,
Right.
Yeah.
you know. And they hold up well. Do we have a choice of a two-color embroidery? Or is it a one color?
It could be white or black.
Just white or black?
Yeah, I mean, and that's, I think you can put whatever you like on there, but that's what we had sort of said to them was,
Right.
with a red or a black shirt, obviously with black, you're not gonna put black on.
No, but
No.
red would look sharp.
And it could be too. That's one of the things we told them was, we didn't ask specifically for like a white polo shirt. It was
No.
red or black, and then, the logo, she has and
I'm kinda partial to the black shirt with,
So am I.
with red lettering.
Me, I like that too.
What'd the girls say?
The one thing that they had said is they like them both. If you look at them both, it's a little bit deceiving. They're both button up, but I hate to say, with the models that are on this sheet of paper,
Right.
you look at the male, the shirts are,
Mhm.
it looks like one shirt doesn't button up as high, but technically they both button up all the
Right.
way, you know. The girls had said they looked at both and they would appreciate either one of them, but on a day like today when it's 20 below, they had said
Hoodie-
it might be nice to have more than just a polo too. But
Hoodie,
that's,
hoodie sweatshirt?
yeah, or something more long sleeved. And what we had talked about was we would discuss that. You know?
Right, because we had talked about them being able to wear a long sleeve T-shirt of some sort underneath,
Mm-hmm. That's right. That's
right?
right.
If you know, if they so desired,
Right.
something
Yeah.
like this right here.
Yeah. When you look at
Maybe not
the
that color though.
Might clash.
now, while they both, so I'll back up a little bit. I think what I was told was correct. So the K500, the bottom one, when you read the description, now they both say Silk Touch, but the K500, which is the lower one, it doesn't say that it is a wicking shirt. Does that make sense?
Yep.
And what it does say is that it's made.
What it does tell you is 65-35 poly cotton.
Yep.
Which means it's heavier like the one you're wearing right now.
Right, right.
Yep.
And then the other one says, specifically the L547, K547 says it's a stripe on the front and the back shoulder sleeves adds bold contrast to our high performance polo that wicks moisture and resists snags. And this one is 100% polyester double knit, so it's cationic.
Catatonic.
Yeah. Cationic with an N in there, but yeah.
Whatever that is.
Yeah, but it's 100% of polyester. Is there a general direction that you want to look into? I mean, the one thing that we don't have is we don't have sizes for everybody on the council and on what
Right.
level you want to do that.
I don't like the striping.
No,
I
I'm
don't
leaning
either.
towards a 500 series.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. So would you, and the one thing we have is more of the, you have it on paper here, but what we don't have is like samples that you could check and see what the size would be
Right. Well,
that's
that would,
appropriate for you, you know?
right.
Well, she should be able to tell us how they run for their sizes.
Yeah.
I mean, being dealing with shirts, she should be able to tell you if the larger are gonna run a large, if it's gonna be
Mhm.
just a little bit bigger. Because me being a bigger person, obviously, I want something that's not gonna make me look like a whale.
What we get, when we get these shirts, they run true to size.
Yeah.
A large
Sure.
is a large.
But you should be
With a
able to
little,
go
with a little
over.
room, and I think they're cut a little more, forgivingly as well.
if
But you gotta
we
watch
just-
how you wash them, cause they can shrink.
Right, but we should be able to, if we're gonna get them from Dockside, we should be able to have our staff go over there when Cindy is open
Get fitted.
and get fitted.
There you go.
And I think we could go with both red and black. I don't think, I think
Yep.
they should have a choice. I don't, here, you can go red and black, and then the embroidery would be the opposite color. And I think we should give staff their options. Cause maybe what if they wanted to get one of each or something? I don't, you gotta have some sort of options.
So we've talked about outfitting staff, and then there had also been discussion on city council too.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
the question would be, what you'll probably wanna do, and you can make a motion that we can send to council, would be the idea of, if you're issuing shirts to council, do you have a preference for these? It sounds like maybe the L or the K500, 500s.
Right.
Then, would you recommend that you purchase or look to purchase one black one or one red one or one of each for council, and, or however you wanna do that for staff and however you wanna do it for council? Does that make sense?
Right, and I would say that it could be, you could get 2 shirts per person. And like I said, the color could be their option. You have a choice of either red or black, or 2 reds, two blacks. whatever. You agree with that, Scott?
I do, but I think we should issue, pay for the first one. What do you
Okay.
think?
Yeah,
What do you think? Pay for the first one. If they would like a second one, that's their option. But
Okay.
then they pay for the second one
that's fine.
for staff.
Okay. And you're not recommending, so it's just, you'll pay for one for staff, and then staff can, if you wanna buy 6, you pay for the other 5, or whatever it ends up being. That the individual employee then would pay for however many more that they want. Does that sound right? And then my next question would be, is that the same way you wanna handle it for the city council too? Or how do you wanna do that?
See, I'm kind of, city council is one, that's fine. Staff, if we're gonna require them to wear that shirt, then you have to buy them at least 2.
You're right.
Because you gotta be able to wash your clothes. Or it'll be a good thing that they're behind glass.
How many are we looking at here? Can we get this rate, where are these shirts coming from?
How we're gonna pay for them?
No, where are these shirts coming from, this Port Authority? Who's
Oh.
buying them? Is the embroidery house buying them, who we're having them embroidered through? Because the more you buy here, I know how this works. The more
Oh,
you
yeah.
buy here, you're gonna get a better price.
Right.
So,
The
should be able to.
information we got from Dockside is what's before you. It's
This
one
is-
price, but it doesn't say if you buy 50, here's your price, or 100, here's the price.
okay, but she's gotta have a quantity in mind to go back to the vendor of Port Authority. to
I
find
think
out.
that would probably help. So I mean, if you
That
had
would
an
help her
idea
with the
on
pricing.
how many you want to look at the city purchasing for council, for staff, if you want to do that. And then the other thing that we would probably do before we go back to her is get an idea then on, so if the city's gonna buy or purchase X amount for a person and somebody wants to buy more,
Right.
we would try to get an idea on
Right.
what is that number gonna be,
Mm-hmm.
go back then and say, well, here's what we wanna quote on.
Right.
But maybe for right now, the idea of how many, so what kind of shirts, and does the city want to suggest that people, council members and staff purchase them? Does the city want to look into providing 1 or 2 or however many? And then the other thing might be, we probably have to have another discussion just on, so if you buy multiple shirts, we never really zeroed in on, are you then requiring staff to only wear those shirts? Or are you requiring council to only wear those shirts
And
to
that's-
meetings?
And that's what I would just,
And we haven't really hammered that out yet, but that's something that we could talk about too. Cause that might be,
I don't wanna have a dress code for a committee meeting,
okay,
but a meeting of the council, then, actually I do.
It's like our one
Then go
main
back
council.
and,
Right.
then get quotes on a long sleeve twill shirt. I'm not gonna wear a short sleeve shirt a night like tonight, or next week,
Why not?
too damn cold.
You can wear something underneath. You can wear something underneath. Or a snowmobile suit.
Snowmobiles.
Well, actually, I would like this, because for staff, this is fine. I think the girls in the office, right, and by staff, I believe we're just talking about the girls in the office and you.
yeah,
Because public works guys have uniforms already, and the police have uniforms.
Yep,
So we're actually only talking 3 people,
yep.
There you go.
and plus council, and the mayor.
Mhm.
But I guess I would like to see a shirt button
See,
down.
okay,
Maybe not plaid like this, but just basic style here, and button down, twill shirt.
That style, that's the sharp style right there that you're wearing. The button collar. Looks professional.
Or you're looking at like just a solid color, you're not interested in the
No,
striping or whatever it is?
I think we're looking solid colors,
Yeah.
still black and red,
Yep.
you know, with the same logo on the chest.
Okay. Okay. I can get some more information from her on, can you give us an idea on another type of shirt? And then also, if we roughly throw together a number and say, well, do you have volume?
Right, well,
Pricing too.
because you'd be looking at, you know, if you're looking at 2 per person, for staff, you're looking at 6 there. In the possibility that if the council wanted to order
Yep.
ones
Right.
on their own, they could, or if the staff wanted to order more than 2, we would pay for 2.
Yeah.
And then 6, a minimum of 7 shirts.
Do you want me to do some informal polling on the idea of staff and then the council too on, okay, if you went with, you had the option of a short sleeve and a long sleeve shirt, and maybe one was purchased for you, would you buy another one? Or if you were a council member, would you want one of each, or?
I would. I'd be willing to
You know.
buy one,
I would too.
I would be too.
you know?
Too.
Give me my long sleeve one first though.
Yeah. Okay.
But yeah, then buy a second one.
Right.
What we probably want to do then is, when you look at making a motion, and maybe it's at next month about how many the city's looking to buy, if you want to put on a corresponding, I don't want to call it a dress code, but sort of that kind of policy that says, if we get you shirts, here's the expectation for how often they're worn, council and for staff too.
Mhm.
That's probably something we should take a look at. And I know we've kind of assumed that was out there, but we never really narrowed in on.
No, and I think
what
we
does that
should.
mean.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Do you have particular days at City Hall that are like bill paying day, when they pay their utility bills, certain days where people should look a little more sharper than other days?
I don't think that there's any
Anything like
particular
that
day
that-
like that.
I think that should be
No.
left up to you.
We can,
What would you like to see, you know, when you're?
Well, you definitely have input in it, that's
Yeah,
for sure.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Or, you know, it's up for us to set policy, but you're on the day-to-day operations.
yeah,
Like a Monday through Thursday, you're dressed with your polo shirt, your shirts that we pick out, and Friday
Yeah.
be a casual day, or
Or Packer.
I mean, there's-
Packer,
there's-
Whatever you want to do.
whatever,
there's tie days too, which I mean, there's certain things I go to, it's more than this, you know what I mean?
yeah.
But you're different
So-
than the girls,
Right.
you
So
know.
because whatever policy we put together, we'll make sure that we do it right, so that it applies to,
Okay.
we'll make sure we do it right. Is that okay?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I've got some ideas on it, maybe we'll bring it back to that next meeting if
There you
that's
go.
okay.
Yep.
Yeah, that's
With
fair.
some other information too on the
Right.
long sleeve. Okay. I will bring that back then. I don't know that, we don't need a motion on that.
Okay.
Will be noted in the record that we're bringing it back, so,
Okay.
okay?
All right, then moving on to our 5th item, the update on the City Hall project and technology upgrades.
Yep, one of the big things that we've had, and I think I announced it at the last council meeting, was we did go out, and though it's almost 2 years now ago was when the council had said, let's authorize up to 10 grand to secure the front door at City Hall. I think I mentioned at the last council meeting that we did get a new window put in, and that cost was $375, so that's good. The one thing that we're finding is that the window we put in has a slot, and when it's really cold out, our front doors aren't sealed very good, so a lot of that just blows right in. It's not very efficient for the building, but what we do is we put a little bit of a foam thing at night, and then it kind of covers that up. But I think for now, knowing that it's hopefully a temporary fix to secure the front door, $375 I think is reasonable, because we'll get that much out of it. That's the update on that part of it. What I can tell you is on the City Hall, on the design, Cedar Corp is still working on the final design, but what they've come down to is They've looked at a couple of different things. And when we've talked with Heartland, who knows our technology in and out and what we have now, we've talked to them about where do we need to be, what should we have, and if there is a transition where we potentially move out of the building for up to a year, how should we be configured that way? My goal was by the end of the year, we would have all of our plans at the end of, so last week, everything set to go with where is City Hall moving, where is the police moving, where is, Public Works, do they have to leave the treatment plant? I can give you a quick report on that. It looks like the treatment plant is still going to be, even though we're constructing it, there will still be workable office space in there. Now, I haven't heard that if we move Public Works out of City Hall, that it's still workable or that it still works for us. That's one thing we are looking at yet. I have reached out to the school to get an idea on whether or not they have any options for us. I didn't get a final response yet because the school board would have to weigh in on that on some level too. But for the police department, we have not fully figured out how is that gonna work with the police department. So that's the goal was by the end of the year, we're getting there. We're talking about it. As far as the layout and the design that you've had for City Hall, Cedar Corp has been tweaking that design. One of the things we talked about was how do we secure the doors and flow and access to the building. One of the things that came up is we had 2 sets of stairs going to the basement on the front and the back, but the idea was the basement wouldn't be a public access at all, it would be some type of a storage. One of the things that Cedar came up with is that they're looking at the code for stairwells to the basement, and they think that we can get away with just 1 stairwell to the basement. So then we only have to secure 1 doorway down with stairs, and then there'd be an elevator. What they also looked at was one of the elevators towards the south by the back of the building. Right now it's sideways, it faces east-west, and they think that they can turn it north-south and then open up more room in the garage. Those types of things we're looking at. We did meet with Heartland again on our servers. One of the things that's out there is, depending on whether we move out of City Hall, that determines how we may want to work with our technology. Do you want to get a server right away? Do you need to get everything wired up? If we leave City Hall, do we have a set amount of time that we have to make temporary accommodations? I can tell you that while we've been meeting on it, we haven't gotten the full plan yet by the end of the year, which I hoped we would. Heartland has a couple of different ideas for things we can do. We did go and tour the village of Little Chute. Myself, Jerry, Brandon, and then Thad met us there. Little Chute is in the middle of a similar project. They put on a brand new addition with a new council chambers. I think their whole project was about $2.5 million. The difference there was they had an anonymous donation of $1 million, which we would be very lucky to get, but I would imagine we're probably not going to get that. But we did take a look at, how did Little Chute go about their project. What they had was they had Heartland, who was in Little Chute, that's their technology IT consultant. Heartland had written up the RFPs for technology for their project, and then Heartland was also a bidder on it. And so I had some questions on how did that work. I got some answers from Little Chute on what they thought. Heartland would be able to, or they'd be willing to, help put together an RFP for us. I don't know that we're at a point yet where it's going to come before you to be considered though. And knowing the timing and design for the project, it's probably gonna have to come to you by February. One of the things we're looking at is just making sure that it's legal, that it's entirely legal. I think it's probably legal, but on what level do we need to be careful that if you hire a consultant to help do your design, and if that consultant is then going to bid on the project, you wanna make sure that everything's on the up and up, and we're working on that right now. So the quick answer on City Hall and technology upgrades, it really depends on what the plan is for City Hall, the treatment plant and police, and whether we're moving or not. A lot of it, whether we go cloud-based or whether we put in brand new equipment if we stay at City Hall, we're working on it. But by February for sure you should have hopefully some recommendations brought to you to act on. Any questions or anything?
No, thank you.
Okay.
Not on that, but why are we buying paper towel from the hitching post?
The library purchases through the hitching post when the hitching post buys extra. That's one thing because that's a library expense.
Mm-hmm.
We'll get there on the bills, if that's okay. That's a library bill, and it comes to you because we
Mm-hmm.
pay what the library tells us to pay.
Mm. Yeah.
They might be on one of those buying programs where you buy in bulk, and if you can get on that program, maybe, I don't know.
Mm.
I'm sure we'll find out for sure.
Yep.
Okay, then let's move on to item number 6, the discussion on the TID number 3 and TID number 6.
Here is a quick handout for you, and we'll run through this really quick, I promise. The handout you have is the TID number 6 creation schedule. And we've been following along on the schedule. We had the Plan Commission public hearing at December 15th, you'll remember that. And then what we had said was that resolution that the Plan Commission had reviewed and approved, which is basically the plan approval and the district boundaries. That will go to the January City Council meeting, so you'll see that on January 19th. The key for what I wanted to talk to you about was in the yellow. To create TID number 6, what we're looking at is closing TID number 3. And with TID number 3, at the City Council meeting, there would be a resolution to close TID 3, and then we'd need to inform the Department of Revenue after you approve a resolution, if you approve it, within 60 days after you approve your resolution. The first page, the only thing you need to really look at is the yellow. It says that there will be a resolution at the January 19th meeting. The next page then, page number 2, is on the DNR's website. I've highlighted in pink and blue how you terminate a TID. So a TID terminates or dissolves when one of the following occurs. The municipality receives aggregate tax increments in an amount equal to the aggregate of all the project costs. So basically the TID would pay for itself ahead of time. So you take in more than what you've expended. Number 2 would be the TID reaches its maximum life. It varies and is determined by the TID type and resolution date. A lot of times it's 22 to 26 years the TID exists. If you don't collect enough income off of your expenses, well, at the very end there's a limit to when that closes, and then you would have to pay off what's left. The number 3 then would be, and this is the highlighted section, is the municipality chooses to dissolve the district early. The idea here would be to create TID number 6, which is for AgriPeer. We don't have enough room or enough capacity to open up number 6 and still leave number 3 open. And number 3 is basically Industrial Park West. TID number 4 is an overlay over the top of number 3, which is kind of it's an odd situation. But when we talk about closing TID number 3, we're not talking about the whole Industrial Park West. We're essentially talking about Larson Co-op to take them out of TIF. And with that, their valuation would get us below, so it would allow AgriPeer's property to be included in a TIF. Does that make sense? We've talked about it a little bit, but essentially, in order to open number 6, you have to close number 3. So now, the blue then talks about when a TID is terminated or dissolved, the municipality must provide the Department of Revenue with the following: written notice within 60 days of the termination resolution, and we would have to complete a form PE 223, which below is the final accounting for your TID. What we would be doing is, if we close it, we'd be left with about $100,000 that we'd have to pay off in debt, and we're working on that. But PE 223 would be an accounting that says we have to come up with $100,000 to pay off our debt, and then we could close the TID. The resolution itself then is on page number 4. The Department of Revenue has a sample resolution, which is page number 4. That would be then what we're working on with Ellers and with our auditors is to fill out all that adequate information for you, and it will go to the January 19th council meeting.
Okay.
We just have an update on where we're at, what our timeline is, and how
So you don't need a motion from us to do this?
we would not.
Okay.
No, it's more of an update on here's where we're at.
Okay.
Okay?
We need, do we need to talk about where you're gonna come up with the 100,000?
We have an idea, it could be out of the general fund, but it also could be, one of the things that we're trying to investigate is in our TIF, or TID number 4, we have about $1 million in debt that's out there and we're paying it off, and we collect, right now, we collect more than what we pay out per year. Now that fluctuates based on property values and personal property values, which is not just your land, but like equipment that your business has and those types of things. We have a savings account or a investment with the local government investment pool. And our investments are called, you know, money we set aside for roads, money we set aside for sewer or water equipment. We have one that says TID number 4, debt service reserve. And there's about $300,000 to $400,000 sitting in a fund. The one thing we're looking at is, because TID number 3 and TID number 4, a lot of those properties are the same properties, is there money that's, we just call TID number 4, but technically it's money that we could tap from to pay off TID number 3. I don't have a 100% answer on that, but the way you figure that out is figure out through your borrowing with TID number 4, how much do you have to keep on hand? So if we got $1 million left, do we need to keep 100 or 200, or, you know, how much do you need? And do we have more than we need? And is it money that's not directly dedicated to number 4? You know what I mean? So there's a pot of money, and I'm trying to figure out, did we just call it something that we shouldn't have called it in the past? You know, is the label on it, is it just TIF debt service? Or is it TID number 4 only, where we couldn't tap from that?
Right.
Because that's the easiest way to say, here's TIF or TID money that's sitting there, and we need to come up with money to pay off the TIF or the TID, and can we...
That would work out real well.
And the big thing, like I said, is because TID 3 and 4 are the same properties, basically. You know, is there... It's sort of checking back to make sure that whenever our staff or our auditors recorded money to certain investments, our auditors, while they'll do accounting work for us, they're not technically our accountants. So, you know, if at one point we set money in this fund and we shouldn't have just said, well, hey, it's only this money, we're trying to dig through that a little bit. So there's money to come up with, it's just what pot is it coming out of from the city? And ideally it would be TIF money that's, you know, but hopefully, you know, we've got, the auditors are here in the next 2 days, and that's one of the questions that we're hoping to get clarified yet with them, so. Hopefully in 2 weeks we'll have that for you.
How soon after you adopt a resolution to close TID 3 do you have to come up with that money?
You would have to, before you close it, you have to give, and I think it's an affidavit or you have to sign that says all of our debts are paid off. So before you close it, you'd have to come up with the money.
And actually pay it.
Yep, because you do have to tell them that, you've accounted, you know, all of your expenditures have been paid for. And ideally, before you create TID number 6, you're closing TID number 3. So what we're looking at is sometime in 2015, before October 31st, we want to close open TID number 6. TID number 3 needs to be closed within 60 days of your resolution on January 19th. So in a way, in the next 2 months, you need to come up with that money.
No way your peer's gonna help us out with that, huh? because we're creating a benefit for them as well.
Right, and that's one of the things we did look into is, what type of TID money, how does it relate between the different TIF districts? There's creative things you can do there, legal, but creative, and that's kind of why we're looking at a little bit of everything with the least impact. And how do you pay that off and not have the most, you know what I mean?
Exactly.
So, as of right now, I don't have a recommendation for you other than to say we have money. It's just what pot we're pulling out of. Okay?
All right. Okay, I'll make a motion here on item number 7 to approve checks 31091 through 31166 totaling $160,579.33 and the monthly financial statements.
I'll second it.
Did you make the motion to do that?
Yes, it did right off the
Okay.
bat.
Good. Any questions other than?
Other
Now,
than
on
that-
that one you ask about, it's a bill from the hitching post, an actual invoice to the library.
Right,
And it says for
for the paper tolling.
paper toweling.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's how that's gone, is it's for the library, for paper towel, they've gone through through the hitching post. I don't think it's a very regular thing, but I know that it's not the first time
Okay.
that's happened, so. Whether that's the best deal, I'm not sure, other than the bills were approved by the library board, and then we pay the bills that they approve.
I'm sure that they're getting it through their food
Distributor.
and so they're getting a case, a lower case price. And
Sure.
I just had the question. because-
Probably, I mean, it does
Right.
seem kind of odd, doesn't it?
Right. I just had the
Yep.
question.
Maybe they can get it through you guys, who knows, maybe the clutch has got
No,
some.
we don't have. I don't need to go through that much, but
So you have a motion and a second? Usually you get a roll
All
call
in-
vote on that?
no, it's-
Roll call, I was gonna say,
Yep.
all in favor?
Yep.
Aye.
you get the roll call.
Rasmussen?
Aye.
Appleby?
Aye.
Gunderson?
Aye.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, moving on to item number 8, the administrator's report.
Talked a little bit about, I guess, some of the updates that we've got here, but closing out the end of the year, we do have the auditors in for the pre-audit. They're coming in tomorrow. The next 2 days they'll be in. They're reviewing utility billing. Their big audit for the full year usually happens like in March. So they're coming in now to see where we're at, see how much work or effort it might be in March. Like I said, we did secure the front door to City Hall. I've had a couple people in December, last month we put a note in the water bill that said we would be securing it as a heads up. We didn't lock it right away, but in that week or two before we locked it, a lot of people just came to the drop box we have, just dropped it, just waved. So a lot of people thought we locked it already. A lot of other people had thought, well, why are you locking us out? And there was a little bit of a discussion on, well, here's why we're securing the building. I'm sure that there's some people that don't agree with it, but I think that's to be expected probably.
It's a sign of the times,
Yeah.
that's all.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And change is hard. They're
Mhm.
accustomed just walking through everywhere and
Yep.
Sure.
Yep.
As the City Hall project is set out right now, the designs we've looked at are basically, for the lobby and how City Hall works. There's going to be more of a lobby, and it's going to be a window of some type. So it's, in a way, we still have the door there. So if people need to get in, you still just open the door up. Maybe it's a little bit of a segue to get into whatever we get into in the future, but.
it is.
Other than that, I think we did mention a little bit, I don't know if I did mention at the council meeting about the artwork in the Antique Mall building, that the school had put in a big piece of, it's like shadow art, I think is what they call it. It's got, we had put shop lights behind their hanging, I think it's like a Tyvek material that they have. They have a wilderness scene with a train too. There was a good article that was put in there by the County Post last week. It was on the front page. Talked about the school wanted to put art in one of the city's buildings, and I'll be honest with you, when they asked me about putting art in, I thought it was going to be like 4-H puts art up, and in a way it was something that I think looks pretty
Mm-hmm.
pretty good. Now, the problem we have is because it got so cold, we don't heat that building at all. And if you go by it today, you'll see that the windows are frosted over and it's a little bit more difficult
Yeah.
to get in there. Now, the lights we have run from 4 PM to 11, and they probably put off some heat, but
Not that much. Now, that power was turned off in that building, so we turned it back on, right?
right,
Okay.
right, yeah. And all they do is they have access to one outlet. Now, I can actually tell you that the power was not just turned on for this. The power had been turned on for a police operation, if that makes sense, with cameras, or
Oh, okay.
surveillance, I should say.
Okay.
And so the power had been turned on, but we did not turn it off,
Okay.
if that makes sense.
I just know other times when we've taken tours there, we had flashlights.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and that's
we
why I
did.
was,
So when we talk about power being on, there's one outlet in the back that's on, and
Okay.
they have one extension cord that runs to that outlet, so.
that's fine.
Yep. Yep, but there is no heat, there's no heater in that building either, so.
Hmm.
That's about all I've got for right now. It's just a lot of getting through the end of the year, and then also on my end with the baby coming next week, and it's been convenient because of the holidays with a couple days here and there, but that's about what I got for a report.
Okay.
I'd like to ask you, Patrick, how did the girls and you overcome your challenges with the computer system
With the
this past year? Have you evolved through it as far as the billing and everything the program is supposed to do for you? Are there still issues there, or?
It's not, there's issues, and I can tell you that our auditors had, I don't know that they could come to you and say, hey, you need to get new software, but our auditors had mentioned a couple of different brands that they have experience with that work pretty well. And while they didn't come to us and say, this is terrible, switch it, I got the feeling that
They gave you a polite suggestion?
I think so. And
Okay.
so, but then on top of that, what the city had just spent was at least $10,000 getting that new software. Now, it was free, except we had to pay for the training, and then we had to pay for the accountants to set up. There's a lot of basic things that we needed to pay for that I'm not sure you were told ahead of time. So I think the action to get the software was the fall before I started. Because I think the idea was that it would be in before I started, and then in reality, we were working on it for 10 months when I was here. So it's not, I can say it's a challenge. It's a challenge, and it would be nice to go out and maybe shop out software. The problem is, when you shop it out, you want to make sure that you need it, number one, and then that you're willing to pay the cost, because 2 years ago we paid, well, last year actually we paid, well, it's 2 years now that we're in 2015, you paid like 10 grand, 15 grand in your time that it took to get it straight, to pay your accountants. Part of me thought, well, you'd hope that by now we'd get it straight, and then by the time you get it straight, it would be very tough to switch to a new software. And when I say tough, it would be tough on everybody for staff that you've got, but one of the things we're talking about with the auditors is whether we just need to do it and just get it done. Maybe it's something that we take a look at try to get through this year, and then starting in 2016, the goal would be, let's get a new set of software for 2016.
I take it you lack the IT support for that there's nobody out there that can,
There's a company you go with to support it.
they suck or what?
I don't know enough to give you a full opinion that we'll record and throw on the internet, I guess. So I don't know enough to say whether it's good or bad, but I do know that it's been a challenge.
So you're
say
struggling
that.
with it? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, we get through, there's a lot I would like to do with reporting to show a lot better things to you guys.
Mhm.
I could go out and do a lot of manual redesigning for reports, but there's a lot of, we should discuss it, I guess I'll say. We should
Okay.
discuss it, yeah. Yeah,
All right.
okay. Does that help? There's
Yeah, 'cause you-
more to be discussed there, and
Okay.
that's probably it's one of the biggest tools we have, and I don't feel great about it.
I look
I'm
at
not gonna
that,
say I
I look
don't
at that
like it.
tool and where you're dragging it into down the road in the future.
Yeah.
And before we make that move, you're gonna want to have what is gonna work for you at that time
Yep.
we make that transition. And I didn't think this was working very well for you.
Part of it too
So-
is just the experience level of your staff too. So whether it's user friendly, it's not, you can't buy software and then just make it work for you. You've got to make it work for the staff that you have. And
Mm-hmm.
I think when we take a look at maybe changing or reviewing this in the next couple months, that's probably going to be just as heavy as, is it going to be something that we can, do we need to train somebody or do we need to get an accountant for thousands of dollars that they need to straighten them out,
Yeah.
I don't know what the process was to get it here.
But we'll be addressing
But-
this down the road is what you're saying. We're gonna have.
I would like
at
to,
some
I'd like
point.
to, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
yeah. I think we're getting by and we're making it work, but I think there's probably a lot of extra effort that we maybe don't need to put in. But
Okay.
it's not I'll just say it's not the only thing that we've got like that, but yeah. I appreciate you asking though, for sure. That's about all I've got.
Okay.
We've had a lot going on and we're still in the middle of a lot, so. Okay,
Thank you, Patrick.
yep.
Shall we set the February finance meeting date and time?
February 2nd would be the first Monday.
I believe that's correct.
It's on Google, it can't be wrong.
There you go.
Yep. Again, at 6 PM,
That's fine with me.
okay?
Shani, what do you think?
Works for me.
Okay,
Okay,
I think we have such other matters,
such other matters as authorized by law, excuse me.
and I'll tell you, I don't have anything right now.
No?
Okay, then our 11th item, we shall enter into closed session pursuant to 19.85 -1C Wisconsin statutes, consideration of employment, promotion, compensation, or performance evaluation data of any city employee who is subject to the jurisdiction or authority of the council. The reason for the closed session is to review city administrator goals and paid time off. The council may choose to reconvene in open session at the completion of the closed session in order to take action on items from the closed session.
I'll make a motion to go into closed session.
I'll second that.
Okay? Roll call. Appleby,
Aye.
Gunderson,
Aye.
Rasmussen.
Aye.
It's 8:29.
All right. I'd like to make a motion to authorize the city administrator to cash in up to 2 weeks of vacation.
I'll second that.
2014 vacation.
2014 vacation,
Yep.
just, thank you. Yep.
Gunderson, second. Rasmussen. Okay?
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay,
That it?
that would be it then.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
We're adjourned.
9:55. Thank you.
9:55.